Well, hello and welcome to Wide World of Sports. Adam Papalia with you through until 7 o'clock. Massive weekend. So much going on in the world of sport. But a big story today, which we'll get to right off the top. Lachie Schultz telling the Fremantle Footy Club that he wants to be traded to Melbourne, wanting to return home for family reasons. I know it's got a lot of Freo fans talking today, and you'll get your chance to have your say. 133 882 is the talkback number. The text message line 0487 999 882. Matthew Lloyd will be along shortly talking about all the other deals in the trade period. We'll wrap up Bathurst, the Cricket World Cup, and everything else that is happening. But I want to get straight to the news of the day because it did catch quite a few people off guard. I think this afternoon when the news came through that Lachie Schultz was wanting to go home to Victoria, and the General Manager of Footy at the Fremantle Footy Club is Peter Bell. He's been kind enough to join us. Belly, thank you very much for your time. Did this come as a shock to you and the club?
We weren't expecting the request from Lachie. That's fair to say. We're aware of some circumstances, as we are with all our players, that are in the background, and I guess some circumstances have arisen where Lachie's keen to explore a return home to Victoria. Through those discussions, we of course have reminded Lachie that while we understand those circumstances, the fact that he's a contracted player, a much loved player, and a valued player, may mean that there's every possibility that he plays for us next year and sees out his contract at least.
It's always a difficult balance to walk. Can you give us any insight into Lachie's situation? I mean, sometimes we hear players say they just want to go home to be closer to family, or are these legitimate family reasons that he does really want to be back home?
It's a bit more layered than the former that you gave. It's not really my or the club's position to go into that level of detail. Look, we understand the circumstances, but at the same time, we have to do what's right for the club. And Lachie and I discussed that today. I'm sure he discussed that with David Walls and via his management as well. And he was understanding of that. So, we'll listen, but at all times we'll make the decision that's in the best interests of the club.
So contracted for another year, wants to get back to Victoria, has nominated Collingwood. How does that work from there now? It does seem strange sometimes players nominate a club to go to when they want to go to a certain destination. Obviously, there's 10 clubs in Melbourne or Victoria. So are you open, and is Lachie open to possibly going to any of those clubs just to get back home?
Well, we understand how the player movement works these days, and that is that players can request a trade to a particular club. So we'll listen to what Collingwood have to say, and then we'll make a decision based on those conversations around, again, what's best for Fremantle. And within that, of course, as I said before, there's a really strong possibility that a deal isn't able to be struck and that Lachie will play for us in 2024. So
what's Lachie Schultz worth?
Yeah, not really for me to put on the public record, and it's indeed very early. So we'll have a listen to what Collingwood have to say. As I said before, what I do know is that he's a passionate player. It's why our fans love him, why our members love him, why his teammates have got such great respect, and he's got a great relationship with his teammates and the senior coach as well. So. Look, we'll work through all of those things, and there's plenty of time to have those discussions, and we'll work out, again, what's best for the club.
In a more general sense, what is Freo actually chasing in this trade period? Is it draft picks you're keen on? Is it getting other players into the club?
We're involved in a couple of discussions with some potential trade targets, if you like, but we also did a deal today, which you'd be aware of, putting us into the first round next year. So we've got a really strong idea of what areas of the draft we want to be in, both in this year and next year, and we'll do our best to make sure that we get picks in as pointy an area as possible.
As it stands now, and I know it's still pretty fresh, given it was sort of only started to move today, but what likelihood do you think it is that you can get a deal done for Lachie Schultz?
I couldn't actually say with any certainty either way, except to say that as a contracted player and as this has arisen quite late. There is a very strong possibility, as I said to Lachie and to you previously, that he's playing for us in 2024.
Is that what you'd prefer?
Yes.
So it's going to be really interesting over the next little while. So Collingwood are going to have to come to the party with something decent. What's the starting point? Nick Dacos?
Look, that'd be nice. Although, again, we love what Lachie does. So, I'm not going to sort of engage on what's going to get it done, if at all anything could get it done. So we'll let David Walls and his team discuss in good faith with Graham Wright and Collingwood, and we'll see what eventuates.
It certainly makes for a busier trade period for you and for David Walls and all the other staff. I guess the wider discussion that a lot of Freo fans have probably had today is there's been a number of players leave over the last couple of seasons. Is that concerning?
I don't think so. No, perhaps, and every decision for a player to leave happens for different reasons, and I think since even the end of 2019 when JL and Simon Garlick came to the club, we really reset the list through the hard work of David Walls. And as I said before, some players leave with the club's absolute blessing. Usually they're the ones who are seeking greater opportunity for whatever reason. They haven't been able to get that opportunity with us. And so we've been really supportive of those players exploring their possibilities. Other players want to go home. An example of that, of course, is Adam Chera, and we love what Ches did for the club and in his time here. He was a great teammate, but we're able to turn that Adam into Jai Amos, which I think all Fremantle fans are really excited about. So what's incumbent on us is to make sure that when we do lose players or move players on, that with the compensation that we're given for those players, we make good decisions for the football club.
Well, I've got you, obviously, a couple other players bubbling around at the moment. Liam Henry, how are the discussions going with the Saints there?
Yeah, I think as David Walls has commented that, we're a fair way apart. Again, it's early in the trade period, and I'm sure as the deadline nears, we'll be able to find some common ground or get closer to common ground. So still quite positive about that. There's a fair way to go, obviously.
And is there any interest in Logan McDonald at Sydney, trying to get him back to WA in this trade period?
He's a promising young key forward. He's West Australian, so we keep very close tabs on all West Australians, and would be mad if we didn't. Understand he's a contracted player at Sydney, we'll keep monitoring all WA players. But yeah, look, he's a young, talented player, that's for sure. Good
stuff, Bailey. Anything else coming out of the blue, out of the woodwork?
Not at this stage, perhaps, so hopefully it remains that way.
It's always an interesting time. I'm sure you have a very busy week ahead, all the haggling and jostling and all the negotiations going on between clubs.
Yeah, look, it's a massive part of the industry. I know the fans really engage with it, and look, player movement is only going to happen more and more frequently. There's a lot more levers that you can pull to move as a player, so we have to adapt to that as best we can. And look, we're really confident and really in good hands with the young players that we have at the footy club. We feel like we've got a strong culture. We feel that we can really improve on what we delivered this year, and we're looking forward to proving that to the football world.
Thanks, Peter. Really appreciate your time.
No worries, Paps.